many natural disasters left many of us wondering how to cope with and accept the horrific aftermath of these powerful storms. This is especially true if you went through the storms like in eastern Tennessee and western North Carolina, where Helene became a cyclone. And if you or your friends or family or loved ones were impacted um, by that storm, or by, you were on the coast of Florida and were impacted by both Helene and Milton, you're likely asking that question: how can I cope with and accept what's happened? My niece and her husband and son live not far from Asheville, North Carolina, which is one of the areas hardest hit by Helene. And, she was one of the lucky ones, and her house wasn't harmed and she got out. But, others weren't as lucky. I know a lot of people who live in Florida, some on the West Coast, and I've been concerned for them as well. And, I know people who have lost their homes and their churches and such. But I find myself feeling and behaving a lot like I did after 9/11. I can't stop watching the social media videos about the damage wrought by Helene and Milton, and sharing information meant to help those impacted, and listening to the news. It's hard to fathom being in your home, for instance, which normally sits atop dry land, and suddenly find it filling with water and floating away with you in it. And then to be someone who knows their family members experienced that, and not to be able to discover what became of them, to believe the worst. To know people, whose homes have fallen into the ocean or been so badly damaged it's beyond repair. It's difficult to understand what that might be like. Difficult to understand, to cope with and accept that your animals, your pets, your fur buddies were killed in these storms. So how does one cope with something beyond comprehension? Let me just say that I've not experienced such a tragedy. I don't want anyone to say, anything I say in this video to seem callous. It's not meant that way. My intention is simply to offer some coping mechanisms and strategies to help you accept what happens, some different ways of maybe looking at it, different perspectives. Because without these different perspective mechanisms and strategies, you might feel as if you too are drowning in turbulent waters. Also, it's my intention to offer a more spiritual, not religious way to view such tragedies. So the first thing is to have faith. Let's start there with faith. If you believe in God, source, the universe, or a creator, you can come to an understanding that everything happens for a reason. We can't always understand that reason, but we can have trust, and that everything is somehow happening as it's supposed to happen. I don't believe the creator punishes us. I do believe it has our best interests at heart, even when it doesn't appear that way to us humans. So if you're feeling challenged by what you see or have experienced due to these hurricanes or any other disaster like an earthquake, have faith. Have faith. Turn to prayer. Lean on God, or whatever you call God. Now, the second thing is that I believe the soul chooses. I believe we all have a soul, which is a spark of divinity, and it's always connected to source. And if you believe this too, you might also share my belief that the soul chooses its human experiences in each lifetime. And if you agree, then you have to accept that on some level, the souls of those who experienced the recent hurricanes chose to do so. They had a lesson to learn, a role to play, or a purpose to accomplish they couldn't do without experiencing these storms. I once heard someone say that all the people killed during 9/11 chose to leave their physical bodies at that time. Why? Because they knew that they could do more good as non-physical beings than physical beings. So maybe it's helpful to consider that those who died during Helene and Milton chose that experience. Maybe they're now able to serve humanity in a way they couldn't while they were still in their physical bodies. So another thing is to look at all of this as an interesting evolutionary experience. And I know that sounds crazy, but and I've written about this before and spoken about it, but the late Stuart Wilde, who was an author and a teacher, observed world events. Actually, he's considered one of the greatest metaphysicians of our time. Anyway, Stuart Wilde observed world events, including natural disasters, and he would say, interesting evolutionary experience. He didn't judge events as good or bad, right or wrong, happy or sad. He simply observed without attachment and didn't get emotionally involved in the event or the people impacted by it. I mean, I'm sure if they were really close to him, it might have been a little different, but he watched in a detached manner, and I suppose he learned his own lessons in the process. Now, if you feel emotionally, enormously and emotionally involved in these events of these hurricanes, you might step back and try to get a little bit of distance. It's possible to detach and still care, to not jump in the water with people. And I wrote a blog post recently and shot a video on this topic. So I'll link to that at the end of this video. And sometimes that's what's necessary to detach and still care so that you can do what's necessary after a disaster. So also, I suggest to focus on the future. The past is past. All you have is the present, and the gift of the present is that in the in the now moment, you can choose the future to create. So since you can't change the past, focus on the future. What do you want to create now? Who do you want to be or need to be now and in the future? What do you want your life to look like in 1, 2, 3, 10 years? What steps can you take right now to create that? So for some people, they may not realize that starting from scratch is a blessing. So the next thing is to see the good. When you focus on the positive, you see positive things. So look for the good in these natural disasters, and you're going to find the good. Since Hurricane Helene and Milton, people have pulled together, just like in most disasters throughout history. With all the division in the U.S. and around the world, people working together and helping each other are a welcome sight. Are they not? We need that unity more than ever before. And the fact that people are dropping their differences for a greater cause does the heart good, provides faith in humanity. So many stories have surfaced of heroes, first responders, neighbors, strangers. Each one can remind you that something good has come out of these situations. And then there is the idea that something new is being born out of these natural disasters. There's a lot of talk these days about the huge shift in consciousness that's happening. Earth and humanity are leveling up. I look at the impact of hurricanes Helene and Milton and wonder if this is part of the process. I don't know. I'm speculating. This was just came to me as I was writing. It was a little download. So we can blame gigantic storms on global warming, and I'm certain that that plays a huge role in the size and strength of these recent storms. However, maybe Earth is going through a transformation. That's what we've been told. And these storms, as well as earthquakes, are just like growing pains. Maybe they're just part of the transformational process for Earth. The same could be true of those impacted by the natural disasters. Possibly, this experience is necessary for people to reach an increased level of consciousness. And for those not actually impacted, but paying attention to these events, the same could be true. They're experiencing the disasters vicariously and changing as a result. Now, of course, therapy, counseling, and coaching can help you find ways to cope with and accept these horrific disasters. Reach out to a therapist if you feel the need. Contact a spiritual counselor to help you find answers and to find hope and faith. Or hire a coach for support as you find your way forward. I've only just touched on the surface of this topic, and I know my point of view might seem unimportant, even inappropriate or small, given the magnitude of loss and devastation so many have experienced after these two hurricanes. But know that I'm seeking to help in my own small way. I'm figuring out how to cope with and accept what I see as well. And, all we can do is our little part to try and help others. And this is mine. So I hope it was helpful to someone. I'd love to know how you are accepting and coping with the horrific disasters caused by hurricanes Helene and Milton. So leave me a comment down below and let me know if you have other coping mechanisms and ways of accepting such things as these disasters. If you're new to me, I'm Nina Amir, the Inspiration to Creation Coach. I'm an author and a certified high performance coach and a transformational coach. I love helping people get from where they are to where they want to go, um, by stepping into being someone who can actually take the actions that help them create what they desire. I believe everyone is a spiritual being having a human experience, and that you are a creator and you can create what matters most to you. And you do that by transformation, by personal and spiritual growth, by stepping into being a person who can create what matters to you. So if that's of interest to you, click on the link above. It gives you 3 different ways to work with me. And if you would like to talk to me about the possibility of working with me, or you have questions about how to work with me, I'll put a second link up above, that is a way to have a 15-minute chat with me. And we can meet and talk about uh, talk about what I offer and what you're looking for, and see whether we're a good fit. I will also, just after this video, put a link to the other video that I mentioned. Okay, that is it for today. Till I talk to you next time, go out there and achieve more inspired results.